When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
Blinded?
Paralyzed? Dumbstruck? As I was!
Halo is a name you've heard at least once if you're into first-person shooters. But how much do you know, really? The first 3 Halo games are, in my opinion, an entirely different breed of games. They changed the FPS genre for good. And not only that, but they told a fantastic story. I'll admit, I wasn't alive when others experienced these games for the first time. I envy them, but playing MCC tells me what I missed. I recently played Halo Infinite, and while I enjoyed it, it doesn't hold a candle to these games. In this video, we'll show you why. Subscribe if you enjoy, and let's begin. Bungie, the game developers, were once bought by Microsoft and were tasked with making an Xbox exclusive title. And in 2001, Bungie released Halo Combat Evolved, which surprisingly did incredibly well. It revolutionized first-person shooters for good, and the enemy AI was praised for its ingenuity. For a simple sci-fi shooter, Combat Evolved was spectacular. You play as the Master Chief, a Spartan II, which are super soldiers designed for alien warfare. Well, technically they were designed with something else in mind, but that's not why we're here. While the first level, which has you escaping the Pillar of Autumn, is pretty basic, trust me when I say it gets better. Anyways, the Covenant, which is a, covenant of several alien species, basically destroys the Autumn, prompting the Chief and Cortana, your AI buddy, to get the hell out of there. When your pod crashes, you land on the ring world of Halo. Oh, and Chief wasn't buckled in, so everyone inside the pod got killed. That's definitely what happened. Back to what I was saying. The ring world of Halo is honestly impressive for the time the game was released. I always thought it was cool how you can see the ring going up and around you for most of these levels. Pretty cool if I'm being honest. While we're talking about levels, there's just one big negative I have. I think the levels in this game, at least the ones on the Halo ring, are kinda mid. Not visually or aesthetically, but they feel drawn out and very tiresome to traverse through. But we'll get back to that. So, what's next? Well, you save a bunch of survivors and find out that Captain Keyes is still alive. The third level has you saving him inside a Covenant ship. Okay, let's stop here. The last time I made a video more than 25 minutes, it did horribly in terms of analytics. With this in mind, I don't want to waste your time or mine, so let's make this quick. Up until the 7th level, most of Halo seems interesting, but nothing overly awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still pretty good. I will say though, the vehicles are amazing, even for their time. The Warthog, the Ghost, and actually I think that's all you can ride. Oh, and the Banshee of course, although if I'm being honest, the Banshee in this game is okay. I don't blame the devs though, since they massively improved on it later on. Anyways, while by this point you're just shooting aliens, at the end of the 6th level, Assault on the Control Room, something odd happens. Cortana panics and you're sent into what is probably one of my favorite Halo levels. 343 Guilty Spark. This level is completely different from what you're used to. No Cortana, no Marines, you're just thrown into a dark swamp alone. There are times you can see glimpses of other figures with friendly dots appearing on your minimap. Strangely though, they disappear quickly, almost as if they're watching you but don't want to be seen. You even come across a downed Covenant dropship. Eventually you find the entrance into the facility you're supposed to go into, only to see grunts and jackals running from assault rifle gunfire. Strange, isn't it? Take note by the way, there are no elites so far. As you explore the facility you find grunts and jackals standing guard. But not to keep something out, no, rather to keep something in, as evidenced by the direction the drop shields are facing. When you clear the facility of jackals and grunts, even stumbling upon their corpses on the way, you finally find your way into a new cutscene. And oh boy, is this one a doozy.
Corporal, do you copy? Over. Soldier, I gave you an order.
Sarge, listen.
Hold still, hold still. Let him have it.
Here, Marine. That's an order.
Take it.
As you finish the cutscene, the game does something clever, giving you a moment to process what you just saw. And one might eventually come to the realization that the bodies are gone. And by that time, the Flood have arrived. With Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore's excellent music, suddenly Halo becomes a horror game. You shoot down this new enemy, which comes in swarms and waves. And in the next waves, you come face to face with the Flood combat forms. elites and humans who were killed, with their bodies being used as hosts for the Flood to wreak havoc. After finally getting yourself out of the room, you find Covenant and Flood fighting each other. The once dark and monotone environment has become loud and chaotic. But when you try to leave the way you came, yeah, at some point you go even deeper into the facility, and by some miracle, you escape the facility and fight a bunch of surviving Marines who never came down and suffered under the horrors of the Flood. But this familiar sight, meant to give you sparks of hope, is snuffed out once you realize how many Flood there are on the surface. Soon though, you're saved by Sentinels and the level's namesake, 343 Guilty Spark. Spark teleports you into the next level, which, if I'm being honest, is kinda mid compared to this one. The library is probably the most boring level, so I'm gonna skim through it. You help Spark find the activation key that's meant to activate the Halo Wing and exterminate the Flood outbreak. However, in the next level, 2 betrayals you... well, get betrayed. Spark reveals that the ring will exterminate all life in the galaxy in an attempt to prevent the Flood from spreading, by eliminating their food source. In Spark's defense, the plan makes sense, but you don't want to die. I hope. So you blow up a bunch of things and run. But you realize this isn't enough. Cortana tells you the key somehow is still alive. Why is this important, you ask? Well, Cortana believes setting the crashed Autumn to blow should destroy the ring. The only problem? You need Key's neural thing, I don't remember what it's called. You invade the Phantom where he's on, but only to find a gruesome sight. He's been taken by the Flood. With no other option, the Chief fists, let me rephrase that, the Chief punches Keys and rips out his neural thing. And at the final level, the Maw, everything comes to a head. After getting into what remains of the Autumn, you may recognize the faded colors and art style, but it's slightly darker, more faded, more broken than when you first played in the Autumn. I find it poetic how you start out in the Autumn and end in the Autumn. As George Lucas once said,
and it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
The ship is infested with a Flood while also being invaded by Covenant forces and Sentinels controlled by Spark, who is attempting to stop you. So basically, when I said everything comes to a head, I meant it. I love how whenever you see Covenant, they're usually fighting the Flood. Hell, pretty much every other enemy is fighting the Flood. Makes you wonder why it took so long for the events of Halo 3 to happen. Unfortunately, they have yet to come to pass, meaning everything is also trying to kill you. Ruh-roh, your main objective is to blow up the engines and cause the ship to explode spectacularly, destroying the ring. After you finally get this task done, you flee and get to the garage. I think that's what it's called anyway. Grabbing a Warthog, preferably not the one that explodes, my favorite section of Halo begins. The Warthog run. The adrenaline kicks in as your only focus is driving as quickly as possible to get the hell out of there. What's cool to me is that, at this point, the Covenant and Flood are still fighting, even as you drive. Then you get to where Foehammer, the lady who flew the Pelican that took you around Halo, is supposed to pick you up. Then she dies.
Echo 419! She's gone.
Kinda interesting how we never saw her outside of her Pelican, yet her death incited a feeling of sadness in the player. Leave with you could never. Now comes the better half of the run. The music finally kicks in as the main theme plays, and this time, the Flood is trying to stop you while the Covenant is attempting to escape. The ship starts to explode in random places and there's fire everywhere. This time around, your objective is literally to get away from everything before it's too late. And you have a timer counting down the seconds until destruction. After what feels like forever, you make it to the hangar. Your Warthog cannot move any further because of obstruction, however, and you have to go on foot. Keep in mind this was before they added sprinting, so you're on the edge of your seat, hoping to make it out of the danger. And finally, after all the deaths, the losses, the casualties, the horrors, you made it out. But at what cost? You're seemingly the only survivor of the chaos. That's insane and saddening to think about, but the best thing about this ending is the way it leaves the door open for a sequel while also being its own ending just in case.
Halo. It's finished.
No. I think we're just getting started.
Honestly, this is one of the few games I've played that made me go, damn, when I finished. Not many games have done that. Even now, I'd say the game has aged fairly decently. The story holds up, the mechanics are great, the weapon sandbox is pretty good, etc. Overall, this game still holds up, despite being over 20 years old. But it's not the only one. Surprised by the success of Combat Evolved, Bungie got to work on a sequel. In 2004, Halo 2 was released worldwide and soon became the best-selling game on the Xbox, selling over 8 million copies. And honestly, even though I prefer CE, I gotta say that this game was a huge step up in several areas. Let's get the obvious out of the way. The Arbiter. To make the experience of playing a new Halo game unique, Bungie gave the players a new playable character in the form of the Arbiter. Apparently people didn't like his levels back then, which, if I'm being honest, is kind of baffling to me. I mean, they weren't great, but they weren't terrible. Let's move on. You're also given the ability of dual-wielding small arms, which I'm still pissed got removed following Halo 3. But that aside, the AI is still pretty advanced, the flood returning is cool, but the best part of this game is the storytelling and the world building. While you, the player, are the Master Chief, I like to think that Halo 2 and Halo 3 are the Arbiter story, not just the Chief's, or I guess yours. Let me sum up his story in this game. Thel 'Vadam was the one responsible for the protection of the sacred Halo ring. He failed and is thus punished for his failure. However, he's given a final chance by becoming the Arbiter. The Covenant has had multiple Arbiters in their time of need, selected by the Prophets, although usually they're sent on suicide missions. Odd. While the Chief protects Earth from Covenant forces, the Arbiter is tasked with killing a bunch of heretics. That's right, bitch, alien religion. Anyways, you eventually kill the heretic leader as the Arbiter. It's a pretty weird boss fight if I'm being honest, but to be fair, he's kind of just an ordinary elite. Why did he even attack Arbiter, you might be wondering? Simple. He panicked. I mean, if Thel's an Arbiter instead of being executed, that probably means you're screwed. And well, I suppose he was in the end. Oh, I forgot to mention 343 Guilty Sparks here. And Tartarus immediately grabs him and makes you come along. Keep this guy in mind. He's sort of, but not really, important to the story. Meet the Brutes. Piece of work, huh? Well, they're the new enemy type in this game. They're stronger than elites, but weaker than hunters. Oh, and when you break their shields, they'll drop their gun and start throwing hands. Don't fight these guys hand to hand. You'll regret it. Back to Chief. It's a little late for this, but forgive me for loving the Arbiter too much. Some side characters are Admiral Hood, whose only purpose is to be a chill guy, Miranda Keyes, the daughter of the guy you punched, and Sergeant Johnson, who was in the first game but survived the flood through sheer badassery. That and his Spartan 1 augments. As I was saying, Chief's mission is also to kill a guy for attacking Earth and then fleeing to another Halo ring, the guy being the Prophet of Regret, who flies in his chair. That's it. There isn't even a cutscene for his death. However, killing Regret has consequences. Just as you finish him off, the Capital Covenant ship High Charity arrives to intercept his distress call, and they bombard Chief's location, but luckily he makes it up by jumping in the water. I wonder what happened to the Marines in there. Oh, and Chief gets pulled into the abyss of the ocean by a familiar tentacle. So by this point in the story, the Arbiter has already encountered the Flood. Why did the heretic leader unleash them? I don't remember. Someone tell me in the comments. So as I was saying, Arbiter finds Johnson and Keyes on the Halo ring with the Index. However, today will not be a good day for the Arbiter. The Brutes led by Tartarus stab the Arbiter and all the elites in the back. But here's the kicker.
And the prophets learn of this, that they will take your head when they learn. Fool. They ordered me to do it.
Don't worry, Arbiter survives the fall. Why? Plot armor. Well, that and the Grave Mind. Oh my god, what the good golly, Miss Molly. That is a horror beyond comprehension. Holy shit. Blur went all out for the anniversary graphics. Anyway, Lord on time. So as it turns out, the Flood isn't a mindless parasite. All forms are connected through one hive mind, that being the Grave Mind, meaning the Flood is intelligent. As if it wasn't scary enough. Also, the Grave Mind has a really creepy yet soothing voice. Wait, did Bradley Baker voice him? Huh.
This one is but flesh and faith, and is the more deluded.
The Grave Mind basically tells the Arbiter that religion is a joke. He has the reanimated corpse of regret to say some stuff. Now the Arbiter must find out if what the Grave Mind says is blasphemy, or simply the truth he refuses to hear. The Chief, on the other hand, is used as a distraction to crash into High Charity using a flood-infested ship. Not only that, but the Covenant is erupting into civil war. Also, the Prophet of Mercy dies by the Flood, but not before telling Chief that truth is going to Earth. Man, the story is such a massive step up from Halo 1. Anyways, Chief has to leave Cortana behind so she can blow up High Charity if Tartarus fires the ring, and Chief promises to come back for her. eventually. Meanwhile, we get the conclusion of Arbiter's arc. He learns that Tartarus has been assigned to use the Index to fire Halo. He frees several elites from brute captivity, and also frees a few Marines along the way. Then Johnson shows up in a scarab. The amount of badassery from this man is insane.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
Arbiter and Johnson team up to stop Tartarus. Johnson clears an opening for him and the Arbiter to get inside, only for Tartarus preparing to use Miranda to use the Index, while also having Spark in his hand. And then the Arbiter asks Spark the purpose of the sacred rings. And after he explains that they're meant to exterminate the Flood's potential hosts, the Arbiter's worst fears are confirmed.
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us. The great journey has begun.
Unfortunately though, tired of being second to the elites, the brutes continue on their hopeless crusade of the Great Journey, which cost them their lives. As Tartarus breathes his last breath, believing in a false truth, Keyes grabs the Index, stopping the ring from firing. However, the sudden stop causes the ring and all other Halos to be put on standby for remote activation at a new location, the Ark. Johnson, Keyes, Spark, and the Arbiter prepare while the Chief arrives outside Earth. As Admiral Hood asks what he's doing on Forerunner ship, Chief replies,
Sir, finishing this fight.
Wow. What a story, right? It's kinda interesting to note how crazy and hectic the development was behind the scene. The crunch to get this game out before the end of 2004 was worth it though, considering how well it ended up doing financially and critically. As with the first game, the cut content was used for the final game in the trilogy, and one of my personal favorite games of all time. Halo back in the day had this thing where each mainline entry was a huge step up in at least one category from the previous game. While I prefer Halo 2's story simply for the world building, Halo 3's multiplayer is top notch. Bungie added Forge to the game, which is basically a map editing tool, changing custom games completely. There are a bunch of new game modes like Capture the Flag or Deathmatch, and the customization is so good. Instead of the usual ability to change one or two colors, you're given the freedom of 3 different colors. Not only that, but now you have different sets of armor. Pretty damn cool. You can customize the helmet, shoulders, and chest of your Spartan. Don't ask why you can't customize the legs or arms in the original game, I don't get it either. Leave further added that later on though. My personal favorite might be the EOD look. Just look at my Spartan. Absolutely goated. Oh, and my Elite too.
It's the biggest.
Yep, Elite's got customization too. What I wish I experienced personally is the original game's way of getting the armor. You got different armor sets for doing certain tasks in both Halo 3 and sometimes Halo 3 ODST, and Recon back then was apparently a legend, but enough reminiscing on things I never got to experience. Time to move on. The campaign design in this game is interesting. In the main campaign, you play as Master Chief and only Master Chief, since the Arbiter wasn't well received in the past. However, if you're the second player, you play as the Arbiter instead of another Master Chief. Third and fourth players also play as other elites. It's a pretty cool way to keep the Arbiter playable. Oh, and the levels are fun and interesting, and I never got bored, unlike in Combat Evolved. Sorry CE, you're still fun to play. But every level in this game felt unique and was a completely new environment each time, even if you're just picking up where the last level left off. Truly a testament to Bungie's advancements in technology over time. And now for the story. Chief is recovered by Johnson and his Marines, and they are joined by the Arbiter. Why was he using camo? I honestly don't know, if I'm being honest. Plot, I guess. Chief and the Arbiter save a bunch of Marines before returning to a base of operations where Keyes and Lord Hood are trying to figure out a final effort to kill the Prophet of Truth, who found a Forerunner artifact on Earth. Chief clears out the Covenant Air Forces to allow Lord Hood to lead the final UNSC ships to stop Truth, but they get there a moment too late. Truth uses the artifact to open a slipspace portal and escape with his followers, disrupting the UNSC ships and setting them off course. But that's not the worst part. Another ship appears, carrying the Flood.
What is it? More brutes?
Worse.
No. Wait. Wait.
And thus, the Flood spreads to Earth, infecting a great many Marines and innocent humans, with even brutes caught in the crossfire. Thankfully, though, the elite commander from the last game shows up and retrieves everyone. Unfortunately, though, most of Earth gets glass to prevent the Flood from spreading. However, all is not lost, because there was actually a hidden message from Cortana on the Flood-infested ship. With this, Chief, Arbiter, and pretty much everyone leaves Earth and follows Truth. Oh, and Spark is here. Yep. Anywho, this is when we get to see the Ark, the structure where every Halo ring can be fired remotely all at once. As you and the others get on the installation, however, High Charity returns with all the Flood coming at full force, infesting the Ark. In the chaos, Johnson gets kidnapped because only a human can use Forerunner technology, meaning Johnson is the only one who can activate the rings. While rushing to save Johnson, kill Truth, and stop the rings, you and the Arbiter form a truce with Gravemind and the Flood to stop Truth. Unfortunately, as this is happening, Keyes attempts to rescue, fully prepared to kill both her and Johnson to stop Truth, but she hesitates. Then Truth guns her down. While she wasn't a huge character, I always felt bad for Johnson as he witnessed this. He failed her father, and now he failed her. Damn. Chief and the Arbiter arrive just as Truth activates the installation. As you stand there, Arbiter prepares to do the killing blow, and God, I love the dialogue here.
I am Truth, the voice of the Covenant. You must be silenced.
Keith David for the win. And that pretty much concludes the Arbiter's arc. I gotta say, it's so cool to see a fictional sci-fi character realize that their life is a lie on the wrong side, so they join the side of good and rally people like them to fight back. It's a shame this only happened once, but just as Truth is killed, the Gravemind turns on you. You trade one enemy for another. With no Covenant left, the only objective is to exterminate the Flood. Chief, Arbiter, and Spark explore the installation to find that the Ark is constructing another ringworld to replace the one Chief destroyed. It's all coming full circle, huh? I wonder if the Ark did this before. Anyway, Chief comes up with the idea to activate the ring, which should be able to destroy the Ark and the Flood on it. This way, the galaxy doesn't have to suffer the destruction it normally would. But only one person can activate the ring from the inside. Your old friend, Cortana. Cortana is still on High Charity with the activation index from the first Halo ring. So you fight through a bunch of Flood inside the ship as you die to those little ugly Flood creatures, these ones. God, I hate you. I really, really hate you. Not you, viewer. You finally get to Cortana, fulfilling your promise by recovering her and putting her back inside your head. Hey, she never left my head, if you know what I mean. Wait a second. As you retrace your steps back outside, Arbiter rescues you without saying a word like the homie he is. You and Arbiter get out using a Pelican as High Charity is destroyed and prepare to finish this fight. See what I did there? See what... Cortana learns that Gravemind is trying to rebuild itself on the ring, so time is of the essence to blow it up as quickly as humanly possible. Although Arbiter isn't a human. But anyways, you, Arbiter, Cortana, Johnson, and Spark get to the Ark, and Johnson goes to activate the ring. However, Spark realizes that a premature firing will destroy his ring. Yup. His ring. My guy's gatekeeping his ring. What? What? What the fuck? Did he just... How you Huh? What?
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. I'm going to kill you and then kill you again.
He did the same joke about 3 times already. I don't think it's funny anymore.
Spark attempts to kill Chief, but he fails because he's a little bitch. And Johnson Spartan lasers his ass. Then you Spartan laser his ass. And then we get one of the saddest moments I experienced while playing a video game. After all his badassery, his awesomeness, Johnson meets his demise, making Chief promise to never let Cortana go.
Send me out with a bang.
And just like that, Chief witnesses yet another life taken away. The worst part is Johnson and Chief were fairly close, as evidenced by their banter and mannerisms. But now it's all over. It's a truly heartbreaking moment done very well, even by Halo standard, considering how much death there is in the franchise. Chief activates the ring, and he and Arbiter quickly flee as it begins to explode. Cortana figures out that the UNSC frigate Forward Unto Dawn is still on the Ark. The best way to get there is taking Johnson's Warthog and driving as fast as possible. Sound familiar? That's right, another Warthog run, this time a massive step up from the first game. Instead of being cramped in a tiny environment, you have the entire open area of the Ark as everything explodes. The music is amped up to another level, the destruction is more apparent, and the flood is all around you as you attempt to flee as quickly as you can, this time with Arbiter on the gun. As the ring explodes, with parts of it flying into the air, you drive to the epic sound of Marty O'Donnell's epic soundtrack. Everything finally comes to an end, as it genuinely feels like the end of an era. Everything is finally coming to a conclusion, which is just so damn awesome. Honestly, one of my favorite levels of Halo to date. And as you punch it and make it into the ship, the last cutscene plays. Arbiter is given a nod of approval by the Chief as he makes it into the ship's cockpit, with Chief almost falling out into the space. He manages to make it back in the ship, but Cortana seems unsure.
If we don't make it,
We'll make it.
it's been an honor serving with you, John.
And everything turns to a bright light. But what happened to Chief? Well, unfortunately the blast from Halo caused the ship to be split in two, with only the front half carrying the Arbiter landing on Earth, and the back half being seemingly lost forever. The billions of lives lost during the Human Covenant War are honored, as the elites and humans make peace with each other. The Arbiter and Lord Horde reminisce over Chief's sacrifice, and Arbiter drops this line.
Were it so easy.
I know he said this line before,
Were it so easy.
but there's something about the context of how he says it here. Despite the two being enemies at first, John and Thel grew to respect one another as allies, even as friends. It's funny how the two traded one enemy for another, that being each other and the Flood and Covenant. And it still bugs me that Arbiter never showed up outside of Halo 5 after he and his fellow elites set course for their home of St. Helios. Arbiter reclaiming his planet would have made it for a fantastic game if you ask me, but as Arbiter's story and most of Halo's story comes to an end, a door is left slightly open in the game's final cutscene. As it would turn out, Chief and Cortana are still out there in the other half of the ship. However, they are lost in unknown space. With no other option, Chief goes under in cryosleep, and as Cortana says she'll miss him considering they just recently reunited, Chief tells her to
Wake me when you need me.
Despite this being the end of the Halo trilogy, Bungie cleverly leaves the door open for potential future games. In the legendary ending, the frigate drifts to an unknown planet leading into Halo 4. Bungie were the masters of storytelling. This is yet another game to make me go, damn. I enjoy this game more than I expected, and that goes for the whole trilogy. The multiplayer, the mechanics, the enemies, the story, it's just... wow. Just wow. It'll always be baffling to me that two of these games came out before I was born, and the third game out when I was too young to play it, yet I had more fun playing them than many modern games, riddled with microtransactions, bugs, glitches, and unfinished gameplay. Obviously I don't mean every game, since some modern games I enjoy, but I was astonished when I learned how old these games are. I'll always envy people who got to experience these games, making online friendships for life, and just having fun when these games first released. But I'm glad I even got the chance to play these games. It's one of the few things 343 got right, releasing MCC. It's a shame how hard Bungie's fallen from grace, even firing Michael Salvatore, one of the main composers of Halo's music and who's been around since the original Bungie days. Frankly though, I'm glad we can still experience these games. It gives me a nostalgic feeling without ever knowing where it came from. If you have yet to play these games, I implore you to give them a shot. You'll hopefully enjoy them like I did. Thanks for watching and subscribe if you feel like it. Now if you'll excuse me... I need a break. Wake me when you need me.